It is a game day here in October as we get set for the Bucks preseason opener next on Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Bucks. My name is Justin Garcia, joined as always by Camille Davis. You can hear me tonight, once again, year number 11 on the Bucks Radio Network. You can find Camille as an analyst on the Locked On NBA show and the Technical Foul podcast. We thank you for making this your first listen to the day, each and every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Camille, would you say your, I don't know, maybe you'll correct me if excitement isn't the right word, maybe it's intrigue, but however you want to term it, is it higher for this preseason than higher since what? I guess we'll start there because it depends on how you view 2 years ago and subsequently last year. So where would you rate this? And just, I want to just see this team on the floor and what they look like.
I think if I was doing it like in real time, 2 years ago was probably a bit higher because it was so shocking that the Bucks acquired.
It was
Damian
a lot
Lillard.
higher. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, oh my God, we got Damian Lillard with Giannis and Chris. We got a new big three. The excitement that came from that. As that season went on, of course, you saw some of the chinks in the armor there where you're kind of like, okay, this team might not have been best put together for the superstar pairing of Giannis and Dame. Last year, felt like the team was going to be a bit better suited for what they had around them, but I'm more excited this year preseason than I was last year's, but not as excited as I was 2 years ago. But ultimately, I'm more excited for this overall season, I think, more than I was at any point since the championship defense season, I would say, which is only, I was 2022 at this point. So
yeah, even more than the Dame, even in the early stages of that, because like that, I've tried to have this conversation with others. I think you and I have done a good job of articulating it, but like, I don't even want to throw out an analogy that'll be read into the wrong way, but it's one of those things where you had this excitement and then you're in it. And I mean, you can see, I don't know if this is what I thought it would be, and this isn't working. Why? And you just kept pushing forward, like it'll eventually change. There's a whole lot of variables, everything going on off the court with Dame, a coaching change and everything else. But it was 2 years of just like, I don't even know how to term it. It was just 2 years that felt strange.
yeah, I think strange is a good word choice for it. Like you said, 2 years ago, there were a lot of different pieces coming together with Dame finding his way onto the team and getting used to being in a new situation. He had personal things going on. He wasn't settled in his personal life. And then last offseason, it was kind of like, okay, it's going to be a little bit different. Dame's going to have a full offseason to work, which the prior offseason he didn't have as much because all the trade speculation and he didn't know where he was going to go. So wasn't in the gym the way that, he was his prior season. So like, there was excitement built in there, but I think part of why I feel a little bit more excited this year than I did last year is thinking of a few different things. One is just that it's a more modern style play for the Bucks, or at least we're expecting to see the Bucks play a little bit of a more modern style of basketball.
If it's not, we've
oh
got
my gosh,
bigger
if it's
problems.
not,
yeah.
Talk about disappointment. It'd be one of the first times on this show where people hear me crash out if that's not what happens with the team this season. But I think that aspect of it is what gets me so excited for this year in particular, where it's like, let's see something different, something new that we haven't necessarily seen the Bucks do wholeheartedly. We've seen them do it in stretches and seen bits and pieces, but even the comments I keep hearing from training camp, like when Giannis got there and he's making a joke of like, I don't know if I'm getting old or because I haven't played basketball since I've been sick, but like these dudes are moving fast. Like I gotta get in shape, and just all that's coming around that. And I'm just really excited to see this group, especially because it feels like a group with chips on their shoulders. Now, last year you could say the same thing because of how the playoffs went. But this feels a little bit different in the sense that it's a bunch of guys now that they're being overlooked, not because of like, oh, well, we respect you that you have Giannis and Dame, so there's something to it. But now it's like, nah, y'all ain't got Dame. I don't think Giannis alone's enough. This ain't going to be enough. Look at this roster. It's a lot of that on this team, and I think that's going to kind of fuel them in a positive way.
Yeah, I think we heard some interesting things, obviously, in media day, and then in some of the media availability since from Doc Rivers, from John Horst too, and even what we talked about at the start of the show, where John Horst did use those same words of like, he. I don't know that he really answered the question about did you consider not moving on from Damian Lillard. I also don't expect him to answer that publicly. But he made that same point of just, Dame, great guy. We wish the best for him. I know he's going to work on his recovery and get back in record time, yada, yada, yada. It just didn't work. And we just needed to move on here. But knowing, and I think this is the biggest thing to your point of the potential crash out, like they have set the table for a radically different style of Bucks basketball this season, with obviously the roster moves and everything that we've heard from Doc and John Horst at media day and all throughout the offseason too. And Doc, I don't know, would you say doubling down and really reiterating, like I had these conversations with John, we can't play this way. Like, we were a good team. We found some success. We were obviously a playoff team, but this isn't sustainable in the long term. We have to dramatically overhaul this group. We got to be more athletic, and we have to play faster and be more versatile. And they've done that. So, I mean, I expect this group to look radically different on both ends of the floor starting tonight.
Yeah, like it might be some of the same guys, but the style of play is going to be so different, or at least we're expecting it to be so different. Like they were asking Myles Turner after his availability recently of like, hey, you played with the Pacers. They were one of the fastest teams, and now you're here
I
in
was going to
Milwaukee.
go to next, Camille. Read my
Well,
mind.
synergy here, synergy. But hearing him say like, the personnel's a little different than I think it was before, and guys are getting up and down. Like he mentioned, Ryan Rollins is out there pushing the pace. He mentioned Cole Anthony's out there. Gary Harris getting to the corners. And Myles Turner said, I think it's just a matter of everyone getting used to it now. You're used to playing a certain way. You maybe come from a system that didn't play like that before. But now we got to take what Doc's been saying and apply it. So I think for me, one of the first things I'm going to be looking for throughout the preseason is just like you mentioned, the pace. But if guys start to fall back into some old habits, or if they're able to kind of play at this new pace more consistently.
A couple other interesting tidbits from that session that Myles Turner had. And I think some more things too to look forward to on this offensive side of the basketball starting tonight. Again, we can't overstress. It is a game day. We finally made it through another long off season, and we got Bucks basketball here mere hours away. So we'll dip back into some of what Myles Turner had to say and what we expect to see differently on both ends of the floor coming up after this. Peloton shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It is their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. The IQ system offers real-time strength coaching where it actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. It's got a swivel screen, and that's a game changer. You can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat. And the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged, where you get workouts tailored to your vibe and energy level each week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. Yeah, the Myles Turner thing, Camille. I think it was his media day availability where he was talking about being an agent of change and being the guy to usher that in. And I think what you'll take away, depending on what market you're in, more than anything, is Myles Turner kind of passive aggressively twisting the knife a little bit to the Pacers and saying it feels great to be wanted. And this city is so welcoming to me. And I've had so many people come up to me and we've talked about, man, Myles Turner ain't going to be hard to find here. We've seen him posting tons of pictures on the lakefront and saying he's running to Bucks fans that have been great so far. But the one thing that I really took from it was him talking about change and ushering that in, and even coupled with what Doc said about, I think he was asked last year, in the last 2 years, it was Giannis and Dame. It's like you're 1A and 1B. Who's going to be that second guy this year? And Doc even said, I don't know. We have the season to figure that out, but hinted at there's going to be a bigger role for Myles Turner. Myles Turner himself said that look, I'm looking to take on more offensively. Doc talked about, and you brought this up too, some of the areas that Myles Turner brings that Brook Lopez didn't necessarily bring offensively, that he's willing to hunt and punish mismatches on the switch. He's been very lethal, very good in the mid-range as well. And he just takes a higher volume of threes, which one of the other things we called for, they said we actually want him to take more threes this upcoming season. But Myles Turner talking about, I hesitate to say coaching, but like his guidance to the team of, okay, everybody wants to play like Indy. Here's what we did. So when we're going through scrimmages and fast breaks, like I'm calling out, no, you got to get there. We got to get there at this time, and just letting guys know, here's where we need to be. Obviously Doc and his staff are going to have the biggest imprint there, but everybody's going to want to try to play faster and be like the Pacers. So to have, obviously not Tyrese Halliburton, but one of those pieces here saying, hey, we should actually lean into doing this, is what makes me most intrigued about the differences of this offense.
Yeah, Myles Turner, I think he mentioned it during the finals run last year that, I think you're going to see a lot of teams trying to be the Pacers and the Thunder coming up.
Yeah.
And I think he was asked about this during his training camp availability, about just like that line of people are going to want to emulate what the Pacers do. And he said, that wasn't an overnight thing that came up in Indy. Like, it was established over 3-4 years of the same guys being together, buying in to what coach was saying that we needed to do, what our principles were going to be, and getting the buy-in from all 18 guys, including the two-way guys there. He's like, that's difficult to do, and we were able to achieve that. So like, you got to kind of get on the ground floor and to start establishing that camaraderie, understanding the principles, and getting the buy-in of the team. That's what first and foremost is what's important. And it feels like this Bucks team is buying in, at least so far, through words. We'll see it on court as the preseason kicks off and the season rolls on. But it seems as if guys are buying into the way that Doc is and coaching staff is telling them to play, which of course aligns with this more modern style of basketball, which you're going to see, I think, a lot of teams trying to lean into. Like, tonight's first game is against the Miami Heat. They've already played one preseason game so far, and I heard on Locked On Heat that their pace in that first preseason game was 107. 107. And I believe last year it was the Grizzlies that led the lead in pace at like 103. So again, I'm not saying that you can expect the Heat to play at that level consistently throughout the entire season, but it's another example of a team that was playing a bit slower last year that's looking to pick up the pace this year. I do not think this is going to be a thing unique to the Milwaukee Bucks. So it's going to be imperative for the Milwaukee Bucks to make sure that the guys are in condition and ready to play this style of basketball, because we know they want to dictate their terms to other teams, but other teams are, of course, looking to do the exact same thing. So it is going to come down to, again, understanding your principles, being in shape, moving the ball, which was another thing that was spoken about a lot throughout camp so far for this Bucks team, understanding that when that ball sticks, they're not as good. But that's also what Doc's been preaching since he's gotten here, about the ball cannot stick. So just kind of seeing how this offense continues to evolve with some new pieces in place, but also some different guys in different roles and what that looks like. Like, all of that is what gets me so excited about seeing what this offense might look like.
Yeah, 106.5. We had a couple teams just under 109 per pace so far. But I mean, you noted this
Preseason,
too.
you know.
Yeah, I would apply the caveat that it is the preseason,
Yeah.
and you see pace explode like last year. The leader was the Bulls at a 110 pace.
Yeah.
The Bucks were even over 100 for pace last year. I mean, last year you only had 4 teams that were below 100 for pace in the preseason, and one of those teams was the Oklahoma City Thunder, by the way. So, yeah, it's one of those things of, okay, I just want to see how it looks. I'm not necessarily taking anything from the numbers here, but I want to see how this looks with this group, because the Bucks were a shade under 100 last year. They were basically right in the middle of the pack, 14th in the league in pace. We go back the previous year, you had half of that year with Adrian Griffin, and we heard a lot of the aggression on defense and his thoughts. You saw a decent chunk of that year where the Bucks were in the top 10 in pace, over 100. So striking that happy balance where, like, I mean, I don't expect the Bucks to be like a top 5 team in pace, but it is a group, that even shortly after the title defense season, I mean, this team was routinely in the top 5, 3. The year after they won the title, they were 3rd best in pace. Year they won the title, they were 2nd in pace. 2 years after that, they were, I think, 5th. So it's a group that was around there, and then age and injuries just kind of set in. And look, and again, it's not a shot at Damian Lillard, but with Dame comes a certain style of pace. And that, to see going from a top 10 team down to 14, I think that was a big part of it as well.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And again, like, it was a team that just liked to play at their own pace. Even with Chris Middleton before the trade, like, we know Chris was a guy who kind of liked to survey half court and pick his spots there. And the legs on this team is, again, the exciting part of it is just kind of seeing what guys look like on the court. And even thinking about the game tonight against the Heat, I'd be surprised to see Giannis out there, just given the fact, just given that he already said I kind of need like 3 days to just kind of get back into shape. When he got to camp on Saturday, I believe that it was, he didn't do any contact work yet. So they're still ramping him up. They got to make sure that his conditioning is right, because I mean, his emphasis, of course, is staying healthy, getting through the season. And he had a busy summer, so I don't have big concerns that when the season starts, he's going to be out of shape. But just something to keep an eye on. But what that lends itself to, if Giannis is not playing, which I wouldn't expect him to in this one, is
Kyle Kuzma.
A lot of Kyle Kuzma, but really the non-Giannis minutes. Like, that's been a point of training camp too, because the question has come up of Giannis hasn't been able to participate in training camp so far. That surely has put like some problems in the install that you're trying to do, given how big of a part of the offense and the team that Giannis is. And Doc's like, yeah, it's not ideal, but one of the things that comes from this is that we got to get used to playing without him as well, because the minutes when Giannis is off the court is when we always struggle. And I mean, that's been a case, I shouldn't say struggle, but the Bucks are always better when Giannis is on the court. So being able for guys to understand how to play in those minutes without him is going to be important, because you don't want the entire team to tank when he is off the floor because he can't play a full 48. And again, when he's on the court, like last year, offense is better with him on the court, 9.1 points per 100 possessions, 96 percentile type of stuff right there. The defense is better with him on the court outside of free throw rate. Turnover rate was what it was, whether he was on the court or off the court. And cleaning the glass, put it in this way, like the Bucks played like a 57-win team when Giannis was on the court last season. When he was off the court, they played more like a 29-win team. And again, it's going to be a gap regardless, because Giannis is Giannis. But seeing how this team figures out ways to be at least even when Giannis is off the floor is going to be, I think, really big for them. And tonight's preseason game is going to be an extended look, it feels like, of guys getting used to some looks without him on the court.
All right, one quasi update on Giannis, and then some closing thoughts on the preseason being here, some things we're looking to, maybe an interesting comp, or at least one the Bucks are hoping for as we get set for the preseason debut of this version of the Bucks. We'll get to that next. NFL season's here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 Get 300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel, so easy to use, quick payouts. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan, you love diving into the stats, or you're just following your fantasy football team, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right. There are no injury reports in the preseason, so I would assume we'll get some type of text from the team later on tonight telling us, here's your starting lineup and here's the guys that are not playing. But Doc did say after Giannis rejoined the team, he would need about 3 days and wasn't going through. Giannis himself mentioned that, but Doc said, it's non-contact work only that he's been doing. So given that was Friday afternoon, it's really pushing it that I would assume he's not going to play. And even hearing Giannis say I'm not 100% physically yet. Let's just assume he's going to be out for this game. I also want to say this, Camille. We mentioned that the games are here now and preseason is finally here. We got basketball to talk about and not more of the long off season. We've talked about it on the show before, but I ran into so many listeners and viewers of the pod over the summer, countless ones that I can't even remember the names. Bad job by me of everyone that came up to me, but I ran into people at Moda 3, at Whole Foods, at other grocery stores, and so many people that were still tuning in every single day throughout the summer and just seeing that community of Bucks fans. Not to get corny, it makes it rewarding and special to see that interaction and get that interaction with your everydayers. Because look, I get it that, Bucks fans, you kind of get into this protected bubble because you know what to expect in terms of discourse nationally. So a lot of times we'll see I don't want that on this show. I want positivity. And we try to give it as much as possible. Sometimes you can't. And there's going to be more days this season where you can't. But, meeting so many everyday listeners and even people that casually check into the show throughout this off season has certainly been a rewarding experience for me. And I'm sure you as well.
Absolutely. That's the fun part. Even in the comment section, seeing some of the same, getting to know, I expect to see certain people in the comments every day because they are truly everydayers. One of my favorite examples this summer was I went to the Black Arts Fest down in the Summerfest grounds, and one of the lemonade stands, they were making lemonades, and the guy goes, aren't you Locked On Bucks? And I was like, yeah, I listen every day. He's like, I'm gonna drop comments in the next episode saying mango lemonade because that's what you ordered. I'm gonna say mango lemonade. Seeing things like that at the movie theaters, just people, and everyone's always really kind about it as well. Even those who we don't see in person, but just reach out behind the scenes or a tweet or a message of saying hey, I appreciate what y'all do on Locked On Bucks. Listen every day. It means a lot. Like I've said before, I switched careers completely to start doing this podcast thing full time. So hearing people with even constructive criticism when it's good, I can listen. When it's good, I can listen to it. But no, I truly do appreciate all the everydayers, all the Bucks fans who've been riding with us since we took over the reins and through this off season, another long one here. But still, the energy has been really positive. So appreciate everybody for that.
My guys at Metro Market too. Sometimes I even get Packers questions from them, and I have to remind them, I think you're better off asking Camille those. And the most unique story I'll share, and we'll get back to basketball. What was this? 3-4 years ago, I was in the market for a new car. Ultimately bought it from a different dealer, but the gentleman I was working with, I randomly ran into him 2 weeks ago at Trader Joe's up in Bayshore, and didn't recognize him until he called it out, and I remembered the voice, and it turns out he's an everyday listener that
shout out.
Hadn't kept up with him for 4 years. We exchanged a text, and this guy's been an everydayer, Jeffrey, for quite some time now. So yeah, it's just interesting how all those things work and how tight knit this Bucks community is. So the comp, I don't remember if we talked about this before. And I don't want to put the cart before the horse here, but if you're the Bucks, we know there's a strong belief in this team internally. We know it's not so much externally, but let me start with asking you, is there a team that you would look at and say, look, if you believe this team is dangerous and just needed to make these types of changes, and especially with the conference being down, like we think they can make a lot of noise, whether that's like a conference finals run or something like that. Is there a team in recent memory you would comp it to and say, why can't they be this group?
A team in recent memory, why can't they be this group? That's a good question. And on the spot, I probably need a little bit more time to think through who some of those teams might be, because the comp I kept coming back to for this Bucks team isn't a direct one-to-one. It's an older Bucks team, but it was the 1920 team, in the sense that there's a chance for the role players on this team, where while the names might not be similar how it was there, where you're looking at Wes Matthews and some of these other guys where you're like, well, they're a little bit past what we expect them to be super productive players. And this time it's the flip of like, there are some younger guys where it's like, I'm not sure that they're able to produce at a certain level. But if the role players hit in a way where the defense is really leading the way, I think this can be a formula for a team built around Giannis to really take some steps forward. But general other NBA teams, I have to think about that one. Is there any that, like, off the top of your head you were thinking of like, they remind me of this team in years past where they could make a run similar to how they did?
So there's one kind of, and I'm just going off of memory with this team. I haven't fully dug into the numbers or the context around, and like we always remember things differently than they actually were. Like, really, I could have sworn this is what happened. So I may be way off here. And it's also a very extreme comp. But the 2010 Dallas Mavericks that ended up winning the championship. But they were a 3 or a 4 seed in the West that year, and that was, I believe, wasn't that the Kobe, Steve Nash, Dwight Howard Lakers team that got all the hype?
I believe so.
You had the Spurs that were continuing to be entrenched. The Thunder had not quite hit that level yet, but they were building that with their big three. So this is a Mavs team that was kind of lost in the shuffle of things. They still had Dirk Nowitzki, but even the surrounding cast around Dirk, I mean, Jason Terry was their second leading scorer at just under 16 points. Caron Butler was number 3. So it was guys that fit together with Jet and Caron Butler and Sean Marion, Tyson Chandler, and a bench that you trusted that had some vets out there. Jason Kidd on the bench. I believe Steve Novak was on that team too. And it all centered around Dirk Nowitzki, who, was 32-ish, somewhere around where Giannis currently is now. I'm not going to sit here and predict the Bucks to win the championship or reach the finals. So that's why this is a bit of an extreme comp. But I think, to me, that's the team to say, look, we found something that works. We found the right personnel, and we still got this superstar that's our North Star. Why can't we find that not quite that level, but why can't we find more success with that?
Yeah, and that team, like you mentioned, had a lot of vets on it. Guys who kind of knew how to play what was expected of them. For them, it was, can we make it there healthy throughout the entire course? Can we gel together, so on and so forth, around Dirk? But to your point about how everyone fit around him, and it was just a great fit. Theoretically, hopefully, that is the case with the supporting cast around Giannis on the Bucks this year. The flip of that is just like, instead of them being the vets, it's a lot of younger guys where it's like they still have opportunity and potential to take some jumps in their games. Is that actually going to come into fruition? We don't know. Is this going to be a system that brings out the best in them? We hope, but we don't know. But I could see that, but it's just kind of like a younger version of what that team was. So not as many guys who are proven but might be questioned because of their age, more so guys who have things to prove and are questioned and because of their age, but in a different way. So that's an interesting comp. I kind of like that one.
Yeah, they just found success as the season went on, and they had I remember, again, I'll do the research instead of just throwing this on you. But I could have, like, they had one of the toughest gauntlets in playoff history because that Lakers team, I may be mixing up the years, but I know that Lakers team was a defending champion team.
Yes.
I believe they played the Thunder in the playoffs as well. And then nobody picked them to beat the big three of the Miami Heat. So they really went through quite a test to get there, but it all centered around their guy that was there to stay in Dirk Nowitzki. So hopefully we can see a similar story unfold here in Milwaukee this upcoming season. 6:30 tonight, the Bucks and the Miami Heat, our first look at this preseason version of the group. And to your point, as much as we enjoy watching Giannis, I do think I'm equally excited just to see a group without him, to see, okay, what are they going to be able to show in those moments when he's off the floor, or take some things from it since it's just preseason. But the wait is over. And after tonight, it's basically 10 days that the preseason wraps in, and then we get a week off, and then it's Chris Middleton returning to Milwaukee.
It's time. It's almost there, Justin. And to your point about that, I want to say this before the Bucks play the game, so no one says like, "Oh, they lost," so now you saying this. But preseason is all about process for me. It's not about the results. It's what the process is. Like the Bucks went 1-3 in preseason last year. I can't remember the record before that, but I don't believe it was good the year before.
It was a long losing streak.
Yeah, like it's been some losing preseasons, but that's not what this is all about. It's about the process. So seeing how things look on the court, seeing some schemes, seeing how guys look, like it's process over results for this one. So just keep that in mind before we get to the games in the preseason. Let's not flip out completely over results at this point. We'll save that for the regular season.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this a couple of times on the show, but I'm curious what the 3-point volume moment is going to be tonight. And by that, I mean, not literally three. Like, I'm curious about that too, but I just go back to that 2018-19 season when you knew things were going to be different under Bud. You weren't sure. You knew there'd be more threes, but you just like, what does this mean and how many more? And I think they went preseason numbers, but from 30 attempts per game the previous year to over 40 in the preseason, where it just kind of slapped you in the face of, okay, this is how they're going to do it now. Let's see what else they got. That's what we're looking for offensively, and how much more aggressive will they be defensively as well? What can we start to see from this group starting tonight in Miami? Tomorrow's show, we're recapping a preseason game. We finally made it through the off season, and 2 preseason recaps to get to this week with the 4 preseason games on the docket. We got a couple things planned. Obviously, all of the usual season preview leading into the season, the draft that we did last year. We'll do that again, and some other predictions that the 3 of us have on this upcoming season that we'll get to. And I don't want to spoil too much, but I think we got a show coming up relatively soon that people are really going to enjoy. So a lot to get to here as the season is now officially here with preseason beginning tonight. That'll do it for today's show. For Camille, I'm Justin. We'll talk with you once again tomorrow on Locked On Bucks.